I think we'll just sort of kick things off here. Do you guys want to give just a quick introduction, name, rank, serial number, and then probably just a quick snippet on what you're working on, your projects, and that kind of context? Start with you, Simon. Cool.
Hi, everyone. My name is Simon Yu. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Storm. We reward users cryptocurrency by completing tasks. We've been starting since 2014. We work with some of the largest brands like Airbnb and Uber and Zynga, EA, and we have users across 187 countries. And I think people like using our product because we give people free money. We don't try to sell people anything.
It's always a good reason. My name is Neil Berquist. I'm co-founder CEO of CoinMe and UpToken. We are a blockchain financial services company really focused on giving people really easy, user-friendly access to use digital currencies as a medium of exchange and a safe store of value. Our first product was a crypto ATM. Since then, we've evolved into offering a trading desk and advisory services for high net worth individuals and institutions that want to take a position, and then moving more into the licensing opportunities to crypto enable the existing infrastructure.
I'm going to grab it. Doesn't go very far. So I'm Amber. I am the marketing and events manager at RightMesh. RightMesh is a mesh networking platform that enables connectivity where there is none. So to frame that, our three main use cases would be emerging markets, where the digital divide is the largest, or in rural areas. Also during natural disasters, as we've seen with the floods in India recently. So if you're needing to get a hold of your loved ones or emergency service providers, you'd be able to connect to each other. And lastly, during government shutdowns, so as in Bangladesh over the past month, being able to connect with each other and also send out information about different atrocities.
Great. So let's start by level setting on, you hear the terms token generation event, ICO, free money, all these types of great things. Simon, let's use yours as sort of a test case and just walk everyone through what did that look like in reality and how that worked.
If you can explain hell on earth. I think Rahul and the CoinMe team did a great job emphasizing how tough regulation and just banking in general is. And so, a lot of people might think, oh, it's just with timing, the crowd sale was extremely easy, but especially with just the space where everything is trying to figure out how to get regulated properly, it's extremely tough when every week or 2 weeks, SEC or IRS or FINRA or whoever is in the governing charge might change their opinion on what is right and what is not right. So for us too, we tried to launch our crowd sale in August, and we actually had a full utility token since we've been having a product since 2014. So people were able to use our tokens, but because of regulation challenges, we were delayed for 3 months. And there's also hackers that you have to be on the watch for because of just people coming out of Russia and China trying to hack Etherscan and Ether wallets and everything like that too. So just a lot of challenges for sure.
So Neil, how did your experience compare to Simon's in terms of maybe a little more detail on what did it look like from a issuance perspective, roadshow, some of the plumbing stuff as well?
Yeah, I definitely echo the hell on earth sentiment. I definitely don't want to do it again. Glad it's over, etc. But I'm glad we did it. The challenges are, like Simon said, is just an undefined regulatory environment. So, you pay a lot of lawyers and compliance consultants to basically have them give you their best guess with no guarantee. So even then, you feel like you're equipped, but you're still taking the risk. And then going from a market awareness piece for the token, that's just a bloodbath. Everyone's doing a token sale. So how do you build awareness for a legitimate project and get through the noise of scams and frauds and just a bunch of BS? So really, back to basics, relationship building awareness for the underlying utility and the product and the value of it. This isn't a harebrained idea. You give us money, we'll go build something. So really just, honing in on your message and having a unique differentiating value proposition within a sea of a lot of noise. Frankly, get out of Seattle. You're not going to raise your token sale here, nor should you try. So, I think that was a learning. I think I always, wanted to double down on being local because this is where trust and relationships are. But the reality is the market's not here if you're doing a token sale and want to do a roadshow. So, Asia's a great place. They're very forward thinking. There's a lot of billionaires that, are very entrepreneurially minded and are willing to take the risk with you. But then also there's just a market of adopters, people that use crypto in their everyday life. And so they get the value proposition and the mission of what you're doing. But yeah, no, I mean, there's definitely a lot of challenges and it changes every month. So you constantly have to take information and what you're learning and redo your strategy almost every month based on what you're learning.
So let's pick up on the market in geography, right? So you said Seattle is not a great place to raise. You think it's a great place to build a blockchain company, or are those different things?
Yeah, no, I think it is. I mean, there's obviously, you look at the criteria for a great place to build a blockchain company, one being the talent pool. There's definitely the talent is here, albeit more expensive than other places, unfortunately, but that's just, what good talent costs in the United States. There's also the leadership and advisors and people that have been in the space for a while. I mean, the Bitcoin Foundation was actually established here. CoinLab was here. There's actually a lot of early adopters that came out of Seattle. JR lives here and has worked here quietly since for a while after doing the first token sale. So, I mean, we definitely have some expertise and some advantages, and I definitely think that Seattle will be a blockchain hub. But in the topic of token sales and raising money for token sales, yeah, you can skip Seattle and the roadshow stop.
Amber, what do you think about Vancouver? You're spending most of your time up there. How do you think Vancouver compares to Seattle or other markets, and what are you seeing up there?
So I would say as well, Vancouver's become a bit of a blockchain hub in terms of the great talent that we have, as well as the companies that are coming out of there. But in saying that, during our raise as well, we didn't actually allow contributors to come from the States or from Canada, except for those who were from our private contribution round. And we split ours into 3 different sections: a private contribution round of 18 million, then we had a pre-allocation round, which included a bonus, and then a crowd contribution round. And it was over the course of 6 months. It was long. But with that, just due to regulation, we weren't able to have those in the pre-allocation or the crowd coming from the States or Canada. Mm-hmm. So in terms of the actual roadshow and how to market yourself for your ICO, going through Asia, going through Europe, other parts is just much more beneficial.
And did you use professional advisors in those markets? Did you use grassroots networking? If I'm a blockchain entrepreneur in Seattle and I have to go to Asia or other places to raise capital, what's some of the blocking and tackling tips you'd recommend to somebody that's going through that process?
Yeah, I think there's a few. So one, we started looking at the process a full year ago. And just for timeline, we completed ours at the end of May, so pretty recent. And so with that, a full year ago, started going to roadshows and making those grassroots connections and traveling through markets which we know that we would be either working in and our product actually made sense in. So going through Africa was a big part of it, going through Asia, different areas that there's a lot of congestion and a lack of connectivity for us. So making those grassroots connections, being able to gain advisors on that sense, but then also talking to other projects that had previously gone through an ICO. There are so many issues when it comes to scams, regulatory hurdles, things are changing so fast, and there isn't things online or resources for us to really have a playbook. Mm-hmm. So making those connections was one of the biggest things, and then when we actually decided to launch, it was more about utilizing the networks that we had established over the previous 6 months.
Simon, so your business is one of the earlier ones in the space, I think it's fair to say, and so you had some time to operate pre-ICO. How did that transaction change the way you think about your business? I mean, obviously you got an influx of cash, which is great, but from an operational perspective, from a business perspective, what did the world look like before and after?
Yeah, so I just going back to Neil's point, I think it's not just blockchain with Seattle is hard to raise capital. It's just Seattle is hard in general. So for us, we began like in 2014, and we were trying to pitch blockchain and Bitcoin as its future. And anytime we brought up Bitcoin in a pitch deck, all the investors and angels thought that we were running some kind of money laundering or drug smuggling thing. And this is because it was after Mt. Gox and Silk Road. And the funny thing is, I've met some of these guys again recently after being successful and having a lot of brands and users growing and all that stuff. And still the conversation hasn't really much changed. So it's a lot of, there's a conservative group of people, but in terms of building a company, I think Seattle's definitely one of the best places. But for us is we actually did do traditional equity rounds. We did do angel round. We did do a seed round. Obviously, with running a crowd sale, it's a little bit different just because the public kind of expects you to be operating like a public company, but at the same time, as a company stage, you're still kind of in a Series A, Series B level. And so the expectation versus the reality, there's a bit of a gap, and just the enormous amount of legal fees that you pay is, for me, unfortunate, just because I'm hoping that the regulation space just speeds up a little bit, because that money should be going into actually building a technology and helping grow the business. And I think that will speed up just blockchain, just development in general.
So Amber, yours was more recent, 2-3 months. How did, from a business perspective, how does it look before, after, compare and contrast to Simon's experience?
I would say it's nice that now that we're done, to be able to focus back on the technology itself. And we never lost that throughout the process, but I agree, like the amount of legal, the amount of back and forth, having to be so focused on like little things that came up, like when all of a sudden social media ads weren't allowed and you weren't able to mention blockchain, having that be such a obstacle that came up briefly, and having to live like moment to moment and be in this evolving space versus now being able to focus really on the product. I totally agree on the expectations of contributors and them thinking that it is like a public company. And that's one piece of advice I would give that we didn't prepare for, and I wish we had, was after our pre-allocation round, we had the majority of our investors from that round coming from the Asian market, and specifically China. And at that point in time, we're like, all right, we'll target that area, that'll be great, but we didn't think about the long term after the token sale was done, and how we'd be managing that community effectively to ensure that the communication that was happening in terms of our tech development, in terms of our messaging, was very clear and transparent to them. So after everything happened, we were lacking a person to be able to actually translate and manage those channels like WeChat. So being aware of the community's evolution after the fact, because it does change substantially, and the expectations change like that once the sale is done.
All right, so Neil, so as having a very successful business that could raise capital from lots of different sources, how do you think about token generation events as one alternative funding path, traditional venture capital, and then other things? Like, as an entrepreneur that's trying to make these decisions, how do you think about it, and how do you think other people that are maybe a couple steps behind you should approach these decisions?
Yeah, for us, it wasn't just necessarily doing a token sale to accelerate our building a global crypto ATM network. It was really around community activation. Our token, you get 30% off ATM fees. It's a 1% up token back on all transactions on the machines. So you really create loyalty in a rewards program. And what that does for us as we expand is it really builds markets before we deploy infrastructure in those markets, because we have a lot of people waving the up token flag, cheering us on, talking about us, advocating for us. And so for us, it was more strategic than just trying to get some money in the door. It was really activating the community in a global way that will then support our expansion and then increase the throughput through the machines in the business as we expand. So for us, it was community activation, as I'm sure you'll take a look at that at your model. How much money would you have to spend on marketing in order to activate that kind of a community? Whereas here, through a token sale, you can kind of self-generate a lot of the buzz and create a viral effect, which has huge ROI for your business. If I was doing it in August 2018, it's substantially different than August 2017. We were ramping up for the sale, had a really strong Asia strategy in place, and then China banned token sales or investing in them and told every token sale to refund their purchases on like early September. So then you get just pivot quickly off that, find an alternative strategy. But if you're doing it today, definitely you need to raise some money in advance. You can't just throw up a white paper with an address and expect to get money. So I would definitely advocate for raising a traditional seed round, get some money in the door, find the real players, find the real digital marketers, the real PR agencies, the real advisors, not just the peacocks that want to put you on their LinkedIn. Find the investment bankers who are bored with their job and have an interest in crypto, and have them actually be your advocates in those markets, not the ones that are representing 30 token sales at the same time. And do it properly, and it takes resources to do that. So I would definitely advocate for raising a round, getting the product into market, so that you have utility on day one, and do a true token sale, and maybe move to Wyoming. I don't know. It's kind of interesting what's going on there now that token sales are legal on the state level. You still have to watch out on the federal level and make sure you don't cross any securities lines. But it's interesting to see what happens. The Washington State DFI hasn't, said yay or nay. They're just gathering information, and will respond accordingly. But obviously, just based on Storm and CoinMe being located here, we've had a big economic impact on the state. So hopefully, this will still be a safe haven for getting out in front on the token sale craze, and having token sales that generate real value for the purchasers, and for the underlying businesses that generate real value for customers and shareholders.
So picking up on that in a jump ball question, any characteristics or factors for a business that if they have them, they should avoid the token generation event model? So put it the other way, what are the things that you think would make, from a business perspective, that business fit well into a token generation event model? And if they have these things, why should they not do it?
I guess a quick response to that is just, making sure that you can develop the product without the token proceeds, and making sure that product is launched and market, and then the token actually drives some utility value based on that. I mean, I think that's probably my takeaway, just number one most important thing. Never communicate a promise of a future return or position as an investment unless you are actually doing it as an investment. So, probably the most critical advisor for your team is going to be your legal counsel. So get that in place first. If you can find one that will take you in the United States. I don't know, are you taking new clients, Andy?
Only you, Neil.
Oh, okay. All right, good. So I mean, obviously get that team together and then make those decisions from there.
Simon, what do you think? Business characteristics. I mean, I'm talking, is it having a good ecosystem? What are the sort of core business applications where you think having a token makes a lot of sense, or things that are just dumb, don't have a token if this is what your business looks like?
Yeah, I mean, I think the key is utility, and I think that's what the SEC and most of the regulators are looking for. Do you actually need the token, or how does the token actually work? And so if you look at some of the token ecosystems that are designed, like there were a couple ones that came out last year, like Long Island iced tea, or a couple energy drink ones and stuff. Like, do you actually need it? Probably not. And so there are models that make sense. I think like Privacy, a good example. Really like CoinMe and making it more affordable for people to just be able to buy crypto with ease, because I think mass adoption is really difficult, and just there's looking at just different use cases, and utility is definitely the most important part.
So okay, jump ball question for anyone. What do you look for when you read a white paper? What are the sort of things you look for that are either red flags or positives? I read white papers all day. Help me out. What should I be looking for?
I think just echoing, definitely if there's, an actual utility. But then also the thing that I always look for in white papers is any of their citations, that they actually make sense and they've done their research, and anything that they're putting in their footnotes are accurate. And that they're not just pulling news articles, but have done a heavy amount of research. Also looking at the team, there's a lot of fraudulent projects out there that will actually take individuals' photos from other teams and put them on fake white papers, making sure that those people actually have a background in the tech that they're talking about, because that's the people that are going to be building the project, and you want to make sure that they have a really strong foundation to develop it.
Yeah, I think definitely team and advisors is a really strong suit, and just having good advisors, going back to what Neil said too, is just, is this advisor just shilling the coin and having 30 projects to his name? And if so, then it's probably not a good sign. But if there's actual, real value-add advisors, and I think just going back to the Asia example, there's a couple of VCs that are really well-known in the space. And if you do happen to travel there for conferences, you kind of know who the players are. So like Fambushi and FPG and Kinetic and all these guys. And so if some of those guys are backing you, then it seems to be more credible because they do a considerable amount of due diligence on you. And so that's usually a clear sign. There's a lot of fake LinkedIn profiles and fake pages and stuff like that. But for me is, if you want to read a white paper, you kind of have to check their credibility on if they're telling the truth or not.
Yeah, and just piggybacking on that, I mean, number one is, is the blockchain being utilized in such a way to solve a unique problem? You still have to solve real problems. The rules of entrepreneurship still apply. So making sure that the white paper is doing that, and that it's a really big problem, obviously, so that the solution has value as it comes to market. And then, yeah, I mean, if you are an investor, time is money. So it's really easy just to see if there's a fund or someone that's already vetted it for you. Be a fast follower. I wouldn't try to lead anything on a white paper. In my opinion, it's not a good use of my time to try to make that kind of a due diligence on my own. I'm a better fast follower than I am a lead.
All right, three quick questions, then we'll open it up for questions. Simon, what's the price of Bitcoin going to be a year from today?
I don't offer speculation advice.
It's investment advice, but okay. Neil, what's the price of Ether going to be a year from now?
Ether. I think it's got an equal chance to double and an equal chance to go down by 20-30%. So.
I'm trying to put you on the record here. Yeah. I mean, you got to give a number.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll see how these token projects do. Having a lot of smoke go up over the next few months isn't going to do good for the market. So hopefully people are executing on their promised visions.
All right, politician Amber, what's the price of Trump coin going to be a year from now?
I'm from Canada, so.
That's why I asked you. That was not unintentional. It's 3 cents today for those of you that aren't tracking it like I am. It's 3 cents. It went up 9 cents since I stepped on stage.
I'm speculating.
Okay, it was 3 cents when I Googled it this morning. So Trump coin.
I'm going to say, we'll see. I'm going to leave that one out.
All right. So is there a microphone around for quick questions for the audience? We have 3 or 4 minutes. I can run this baby around too.
Is there any commonality between the ones who have lasted past the 6 months that kind of stand out in the white paper stage?
I'd say the ones that lasted 6 months prior to the token sale. You often see a lot of new companies doing token sales. That's kind of a red flag. Find companies that have proven to be successful companies. And then they're going to do a token sale to accelerate their mission and vision. So I think that's probably the biggest commonality.
Yeah, echoing that, back to what was said about the team. And yeah, our company had been around for 7 years prior. So it's really about making sure that the people who are on the team know how to execute a business. It's not just developers. There's someone on the team who has a bit of a business backing to lead it strongly.
Other questions? Yeah, in the back. Question was key success metrics that investors hold you to post-launch.
We don't have any investors in our token sale. We only had purchasers, and so there were expectations were based on the utility value that was promised in the white paper for the sale. So we stuck to that.
Yeah, I mean, just from the outside speculation perspective, there's a lot of noise around price, but the reality is I think a lot of the companies are focusing on the product that they promised. And so we make a lot of good just blog posts, and we keep just people updated on what we've worked on, how our users are doing, how many brands we've signed on, and how our product is going, how our team is growing, and what we've actually done with some of the proceeds that we received.
Yeah, on our end, same. They're contributors, not investors, and with the utility token as well. And our big thing is keeping on track with our roadmap. We are a long-term mission. Mesh networking is new. Blockchain, mesh network, both are evolving rapidly. But with both space, there's also a lot of risk because it is such an ambitious project that we have. So making sure that we're staying on path with our long-term vision of really bringing connectivity to those people who lack it. So roadmap and constant communication.
If I can try to do an analogy, Andy, you can correct me if this is inaccurate, but imagine if you put deposit on a new Tesla and you are, anxiously awaiting for that Tesla, what are the things you'd be looking for? Is the company like delivering on time? Is Elon Musk keeping sanity with Wall Street? And so those are the kind of things that oftentimes purchasers look at after purchasing a token is, focusing on that roadmap and execution, making sure that their deposit is still going to provide that utility value for them once it, comes to fruition whenever they access the reward.
Yeah, it's fair. Maybe one more, if there are any. All right, I think that's it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.